time for
Let's
Talk Antiques. And we
Grab that phone if you can.
yeah, okay. Go ahead. You start talking. I'll get the phone.
All right.
There you go. That's a good idea.
So today we're going to do a tribute to Tolly Lee and the band, the Uncalled For. You know, they played at Bonnaroo, and they had the #1 hit in '67 called "Do Like Me." So we're going to talk about that. There was a lot of one-hit wonder bands.
Oh yeah.
But the only one personally that I know
Yes.
is the
No,
Uncalled For.
is this Ray Cobb?
I believe they played Bonnaroo in
Okay, hold on
2011.
just a moment. I'm going to
Yeah.
put you
And-
on the air here in just a minute.
Yeah.
Okay?
And
Hang
here's
on.
the thing about them. So they were, some of them were still in high school. Two of them were engineers out to the base. Had they just took that step out, and of course back then I doubt if Tolly Lee,
Yeah.
John Hirschman's here, that Tolly Lee's best friend. I'm the second best friend. But had they took that step, don't you think they would have been like the Rolling Stones and the Who and everybody else?
Well, their drummer that's on the phone, he'd even enlisted in the military. So all of them were so entrenched in the Hearst. That was the first job real job they got out at AEDC
Yeah.
coming out of college. So that was a tremendous thing to do. Just drop everything you've got.
Yeah.
And then Tully had other influences. His mother didn't want him in that business. So there was a lot of each one of them had a reason not to jump out there with the promoters, because the promoters were all over them to sign at that time.
Okay. You have Ray is on the phone.
Yeah, and by the way, he's the last surviving member. And I asked Howard, I said, do you remember the song "Do Like Me"? See, over in Vietnam they played that music, all the rock and roll bands, and Howard said he don't remember the song, but he's too busy fighting back then.
Yeah.
Hey Howard,
Dodging
is
bullets.
there a way to put the sound where we can hear it too, or do we all need just to have the headphones?
I guess you better put the headphones
All right,
on.
put them on.
Sorry,
So that's okay.
because when we go to the air, it
That's
kills
all
them.
right.
Otherwise,
No,
you'd
no,
have
no, no,
feedback.
y'all do it.
You'd have
We talking to
feedback.
Ray. And I can just jump in.
So,
Are we ready to put him on?
well, he's on. He's listening. I
Well,
think.
good. So we're gonna do a little history about the Uncalled For, and Ray is, like I said,
He's the man that knows.
You are still there, aren't you, Ray?
I'm still here, yeah.
Okay.
all right. So John,
Um,
here let's do this. Take that.
Okay.
that, and everybody take over, and I'll just be on the sideline, Howard.
Hey Ray, I know most the history of where everyone was at, but I knew you had committed to the military, and every one of them had some commitments that they would have had to walk away from. Will you get into some of that?
Yeah, tell him to. Ray,
Yeah,
start us out from the beginning, how the band formed, and you just walk it on from there on, and then we'll all chime in and ask questions. And our listeners can call in and ask questions.
Okay, well, let's go back to how it all got started. This was
Yep. Hello.
the universe. Hello?
Yeah, you're still there. It sound like we lost you.
Yeah, no, I'm still here. Yeah, I'm going through a couple of places where I drop off every once in a while, so hopefully I won't. I'm driving this morning to BA. Basically, we had Cliff and Doug Worst, the graduates from University of Michigan, and they had degrees in aeronautical space engineering and aeronautical mathematic engineering, and myself. And we formed, the three of us, to try to get a group together to play basically out at the lake and just have fun the next summer. It kind of went from there to we realized we needed a good lead singer and we needed a good lead guitar player. Cliff played the keyboard. Doug was a rhythm guitar player, so we were looking for a couple of guys, and we found out about Tolly and Larry Weldon, and of course they had a bass player, Russell Riddle, and so the three of them and the three of us got together, and the group The Uncalled For was founded, and we started. it was kind of an interesting group the way things moved so quickly. First of all, one of the things we started learning, and we had a lady or a young girl that was a senior in high school there in Manchester, and I'm sorry I don't remember her name. Maybe John will, but she was responsible for the March of Dimes fundraisers for Middle Tennessee. So she approached us after we'd only been together about a week. She had heard we'd all gotten together and wanted to know if we would come down and play 3 songs for the kickoff for the March of Dimes fundraiser for 1967. Now, this was in the fall of '66. So on Friday after Thanksgiving, we could play 4 songs. And we headed off to National Hotel, and a lady by the name of Minnie Pearl introduced us. And we played 3 songs for the folks, and we walked out of there booked for the end of, from about the 15th of December all the way through the end of January, and actually a little into February. We could only play 4 songs. Needless to say, we had to get to work in a hurry. We had about 2 weeks to get ready, and the first time we played, it was a 4-hour dance. I never will forget this. And we played our first 2 sets, which was 22 songs, and then we had to go back all over the second time. We didn't even have enough songs to play for a whole evening. But it was a lot of fun. Kind of getting started. You were correct. One of the interesting parts, we had the option, or about the same time, we volunteered to do a lot of March of Dimes thing at first. And we were asked to play at the telethon at the Tiffany Theater in Chattanooga for a March of Dimes telethon, and they put us on at midnight.
Oh,
and
man.
they figured that the kids would be coming back from their dates on Saturday night, and that we were the rock and roll band before us. Johnny Cash was on at, I think, at about 10 o'clock, and I forget who all was on at 11, and the Carter family was on right before us. We followed them. But it was a pretty star-studded event earlier in the evening, and then they went to rock and roll. We went on, played our 3 songs, and the phone lines lit up. I mean, you could see they had a little board that spelled out the March of Dimes. And by the time we finished playing, the whole word March of Dimes was all in lights. As we walked off the stage, there was a gentleman standing there. I knew he had to be important or somebody because, he had a real nice white shirt on and gold cufflinks and a tie and neatly groomed. And he walks up and he says, "I understand you're the spokesman of the group." And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Do you have any of your own songs?" We said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Be in my office Monday morning at 9 o'clock," and handed me his card. And he said, "John Denny, Cedarwood Publishing, 16th Avenue South." Well, of course, immediately I got kind of excited, but I said, "I can't do that." And he looked at me with the strangest look, like nobody tells me you can't do that if you're wanting to make music. And he said, "Why not?" And I said, "I got to be in English class at that time." He said, "You still in school?" I said, "Yeah, we're in high school." Or at least 2 of us are. Holly was in high school. I was still in high school. And Russell was attending MTSU. And Larry was still in high school. So he said, "Well, what time can you be there?" I said, "I can be there at 4 o'clock. So I got out of school an hour early, and Cliff and I drove down to Cedarwood and walked in. We had our little cassette tape, and we handed it to him, and he played it, played the half of the first song of "Do Like Me," flipped it over, and played "Get Out of the Way," and he said, "I like this one better." And we walked into his brother's office up front, which is a big plush cherry furniture. I mean, it was great. Gold records hanging around on the wall. And his brother listened to not even as much as John did and turned it off. He says, "These the guys you want to try?" And we said, "Yes." He said, "Well, get them in here." We walked back into John's office, and he opened up a calendar book and started going down there. He said, "Guys, how about Saturday morning at 9 o'clock?" Cliff and I looked at each other and said, "Well, okay, what are we going to do?" And he looked up and kind of had a grin on his face. He says, "We're going to cut a record." And that was it. You know, that's exactly how it took place. And very quickly, and after that, it was as soon as we got through cutting that record, we went down the next Saturday and signed all the recording contracts and all the paperwork. And then in March of that year, they released it on Lori Records.
Wow.
Can you tell us who come up with the name The Uncalled For and how that come about?
Yeah, basically I came up with that name, and like I was saying earlier, we were looking for a lead singer, and that would have made 4 people. That would have been Cliff and Doug, Cliff on the guitar, Doug on the keyboard, and we were going to let him do most of the leads, and I was doing drums, and our lead singer, and that would have been 4, and we were going to spell it F-O-U-R.
Okay.
And then when we brought on, and Tolly came aboard and brought Larry with him, a great guitarist and songwriter, and then Russell Riddle, probably one of the best bass players ever came out of this area. We just changed the 4 from F-O-U-R to F-O-R.
Oh, okay.
So y'all just backed up and punted a little bit there, and you were in business.
I'm sorry, come back again?
So you just had to back up and punt a little on the name when you had more people.
We did. We just had to kind of make some adjustments. You know, a lot of people ask us, how did things happen so fast or so quickly with us? And I think one of the things, and I know John Hirschman's there in the studio with you, I think he can contest to this. We learned songs on Monday and Tuesday night. And I think he came out to one of our practice sessions on a Monday or Tuesday, and we were learning new songs. And one of the songs we were learning was "Come On Down to My Boat Baby," and that song in the middle of it goes from a 2/4 time to a 4/4 time, and it immediately switches back to 2/4 time. And we were really having some problems with some of the breaks and things in it. And I think that's the only song we even got to learn that night. We tried to learn 3, but once we did that, I think John never wanted to hear that song again.
Yeah, I listened probably to 50 takes on that song that night, and it stuck in my mind my whole life, you know. And I keep wondering why nobody else has ever heard of that song much, unless they're our age. But boy, it was a great song at that time, and it was a hard song to learn.
Yeah, it really was. And, you know, one thing that made us, that we took pride in, is when we went on stage to perform, we played the song exactly the way you would have heard it on the radio. Doug was real picky about that. If I didn't know better, I'd say he had OCD, because, my gosh, that guy, he would come in with a stopwatch, and he'd say, okay, this break is supposed to happen at 1 minute and 20 seconds into a 3-minute song.
Wow.
And he'd sit there and watch the stopwatch to make sure that we were right to the second. And that's why we could only learn 3 songs a week. By the time we kind of broke up or got finished, we probably had 400 songs. And then we would come in then on Wednesday night and Thursday night. We would practice the playlist for Saturday, for Friday and Saturday, and then we'd go and perform it.
Hey, Ray, we're going to have to take a quick break. We got to pay some bills here. Don't go away. We're not going to hang up on you, but we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a minute or so.
Okay, sounds great. I'll be here.
Hello, I'm Pick and Rick T from CFC, best place to get you used auto parts and all types of metals to repurpose for your needs. Just take a drive down 55, see this handsome guy, stop on by. Check out our computer for hundreds of autos to locate the make and the model of the part you need. $2 fee is all you pay. Sign in and get a hand stamp, it's good for all day. Bring in your tools, get the parts you need pulled, and use a wheelbarrow to lighten the load. Pay for your parts, prices you'll be fond of. Each part's price the same, Chevy or Honda. Get exchange warranty for 30 days too. Swap out the parts you don't need for the parts that you do. Happy pick.
The Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester has been voted as having the best hamburgers in Manchester. Hometown atmosphere, historical memorabilia, and of course those great burgers, salads, chicken, and so much more. It's the Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester. Call in orders at 728-4452. You can also order at the convenient outdoor curb service. Hamburgers are made the old-fashioned way at the Jiffy Burger, Manchester's finest hamburgers. Open 7:30 until 9, Monday through Saturday.
All right, we're back, and we're talking to Ray Cobb about the group that he was in and started. So continue on here, fellas.
Yeah, Ray, I know that Tolly was playing football at the same time he was singing on Saturday nights especially, and I believe you were also. You want to talk about that?
John's mic. There you go. Sorry, we didn't have John's mic on
didn't
there.
have my mic. Hey, Ray, sorry. I know you and Tolly both were playing football, and then you both got together to sing. So and Tullahoma and Manchester had quite a rivalry back then. You want to tell?
Yeah, we did. Tolly and I played ball against each other for 6 years. And of course, he was a starting. And matter of fact, Tolly was a great football player. He had some scholarships offers, including the University of Tennessee and Middle Tennessee and Tennessee Tech. For whatever reason, I don't think his mother wanted him to go play football, and so therefore she was pretty much kind of against that. He was very loyal to his parents, and therefore he didn't. But yeah, Tolly and I played ball against each other, and that's kind of one of the funny things about the group. Tolly and I played ball against each other on Friday night, and that particular year the game was in Tullahoma. I was a senior, he was a senior, and Manchester beat us 14-7. That year, and if I remember correctly, that score correctly. And then on Monday night, I actually really face-to-face met Tolly for the first time, and here after being rivals on the ball field on Friday night, on Monday night, we're joining together to form a group and see where we went. And that's a very unusual situation for something like that to happen that quickly.
You all got any other questions for Ray?
What was?
Fried chicken.
Hey, Ray.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
David Pennington says the first time that he had watched y'all play was in Tullahoma at Kentucky Fried Chicken
On top of the building.
on top of the building.
Well, now, I could have been. I don't even remember that. We would play just about any place we got a chance to. There's a lot of funny stories that go along with places we played and had to leave town in the wrong direction because some of the guys would flirt too much with the other guys' girlfriends. And, there was, kind of some really funny situation. Mine jumped back to one night we were playing up at Tennessee Tech, and I had just recently, a few days earlier, had started wearing a wig on stage. Now you got to remember, we wore Tom Jones shirts with puffy sleeves. Our sleeves, we used to say, had what every girl dreamed of, because we had 36-inch material made up each sleeve. So our shirts were custom made. It was kind of fun to have those. I would go in that particular night. I remember I went in and changed clothes, put back on my blue jeans and regular shirt, and took off my wig and put it in the box, and go out and I put that in the hearse, and then all these I'm going to call them, like we used to call them, teeny boppers, I guess, but they were our fans, and they had formed a pretty good sized crowd outside of coming out from below the gym where we had to walk up to the hearse. So 3 or 4 of the other guys that were there that night to help us, we got the hearse loaded, and then the rest came out of the dressing room. And I remember when I went back to get them, I just said, "All right, back up, give them room. They'll be out in just a second." So I go in, I get them. I said, "Guys, you better hurry because they're going to be bombing us." And sure enough, as soon as we walked through that door, they started jerking and pulling and hair and shirts. Tolly got his shirt torn halfway off that night, and Cliff got his torn, and we jumped in the hearse and left town. But they didn't even know who I was. They just didn't, I walked right out, got in, and, "Hi, how are you? Good to see you." Got in the car and left, But that was kind of the fun thing, is to be in disguise. I remember after that, we were playing in Tullahoma one night, and I looked up at 2 guys that were in English class with me at MTSU were dancing right in front of the stage. So I kind of nodded and spoke to them a couple of times during the evening, and they're watching. Well, the next day I go into English class, and there used to be a gentleman, you all might remember him, David Link. He was in a group around here called LTDs.
Oh, yeah, I graduated with David also.
Oh, okay. Well, David was in my English class down there, and we're going to English. These 2 guys were there, and David asked one of them, says, "How'd you like to dance last night?" He said, "Oh, man, that's great. That's a great band, blah, blah, blah." And kept bragging about us and everything. They said, "Well, did you meet their drummer?" "Well, no." "Well, would you like to meet him?" "Yeah." He said, "Well, here he is. This is Ray Cobb." And he looked at me. He said, "No, that wasn't you last night." And I said, "Yes, it was." He said, "No, it wasn't." He said, "The guy last night on the drums had long hair." I said, "Have you ever heard of a wig?" And I mean, he just couldn't believe it. He cracked up, and but I had a lot of fun with that. Kind of going in disguise, basically.
Yeah. Hey, what about the hearse, Ray? How did y'all end up with that? I saw a picture of it online.
Well, we were looking for some way to travel around, and I think it was Cliff or Doug, one, don't remember which, or it might have been both of them. We're driving uptown, up there in Manchester, and there was this black hearse that said "for sale" on it up there at one of the paint and body shops. So they went in and talked to the guy, and if I remember correctly, I think they bought that thing for $125, and we redid the whole inside of it, and then we had it painted, and we had it painted in a hard, solid black, high gloss paint, and we put 7 layers so that it would really look good and thick and shine. And then on the back, on the back door, we said, put the letters or put the words, "You're following the uncalled for." And we'd drive down the interstate, and people would pass and blow and wave and all types of stuff like that. So
do you remember
that was kind of fun, but that's how we got it.
Do you remember what year it was?
Yeah, it was a 1948 Cadillac hearse.
48 Cadillac. Wow, y'all traveled in style.
We did. It was smooth riding. We had a lot of fun in that thing. I tell you what, there's sometimes, like when we go to certain places for a couple of appearances, we wouldn't have to take all of our equipment, so there's room to sit back in there. And we actually had, there was more than once that we had a little Coleman stove that we'd fire up, especially in the wintertime, to kind of stay warm because it didn't have any heat. And we would roast hot dogs in the back of it. We'd sit there, cook hot dogs marshmallows and eating going down the run. We had a big time in that thing.
Do you remember what happened to it?
Well, after the band broke up, I believe Cliff and Doug sold it to a gentleman in Tullahoma, bought it. Prophet, I think, was his last name. I don't remember if it was John Prophet or John's little brother Jim Prophet. And it sat down there by the viaduct for a long time, and I don't know what happened to it after that.
Wouldn't it be nice to run up on that again? Sure would.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be about as good as pulling up in a Mustang, wouldn't it, Dave?
Yeah, David's not where he can hear you, but I'll answer for you. David was a muscle car man. I don't know if the Mustang was quite heavy enough for him, but he liked the Chevelles and.
David, have you ever owned a hearse?
No.
No. Oh, no. Oh, okay.
No, he owned a limo once.
Oh, okay.
Close enough.
Yeah.
We owned a limo.
That's a whole nother story. Ray, I know a lot of people don't realize, how long even though y'all weren't together a long time, you played several hundred places every weekend, and then sometimes during the day you'd do special events. I know I went Cheville, Winchester, Murfreesboro. I went all over the place back then. Tolly would want me to go with him, or at least show up. A lot of times I just show up. He'd wave at him and I'd be gone. I'd have a date or something, and we go somewhere. But y'all played a lot of different places, really fast.
We got to meet a lot of great people and got to play with a lot of people. For example, we did several shows. Matter of fact, we did one there in Manchester with Robert Knight, who had the hit song that's still here on the radio on the oldies all-time greats. His hit was Everlasting Love. We did 2 or 3 shows with him. We got to play with the Buckinghams out of Chicago. Their big hit was Kind of a Drag. We did with Swinging Medallions out of South Carolina. Their big hit was Double Shot. How you say it? Purple Harem. We played as Purple Harem. We did a show with them up at Swanee. We did several. We got to meet several people during our time. Some of them we never played with, but being in Nashville and our name being out there, a lot of times we would 2 or 3 times we'd go down and on a Saturday afternoon before we would play Saturday night somewhere in Nashville. We'd go down early and just go down by the Ryman and by gosh, we got to know pretty well Roy Acuff and Brother Oswald with him and the Martin boys, Gene and Tom Martin. They made the Martin guitars. So we got a little bit in the countryside as far as getting to know people, but we didn't play with any of them. But probably one of my favorite nights really was the night that we played. I think it was there in Manchester. Our song was number 1 at the time, and Robert Knight was number 8. And we were actually going to go first and let them finish out the night. And they asked if they could swap with us and go on first and play the first and third set, and we'd play the second and fourth set. And at the end of the first set, they did Everlasting Love. And at that time, he was actually taking a band with him, and they were called Robert Knight and the Fairlanes. And as they finished when they were doing that song, people just stopped and stood and watched. And as he finished that song out and they started applauding, we immediately kicked in to Do Like Me. And when we did that, the whole room just changed, walked across and stood in front of us and watched and never even danced. And They just wanted to watch us play.
Hey, Ray, going to have to take another quick break. We'll be back in a minute or two, okay?
Sounds great.
all
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks.
I started singing bye bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee.
Historic downtown Manchester Antiques is now open. They have lots of variety and a little bit of everything for sale. Historic downtown Manchester Antiques has space available for rent so you can sell your antiques. Call Dorothy at 931-581-4168. Open Monday through Friday 9 to 5, Saturday 9 to 2.
Hi, this is Macy. And this is Katie Lawrence. Here to bring you another Mom and Dad Deal of the Month. The deals this month include Mom's Pick, a 2014 Kia Forte EX for just $10,867. And then there's Dad's Deal of the Month, a 2012 Jeep Wrangler. It comes with the unlimited sports package with four-wheel drive for only $20,643. To check out these vehicles today, stop by 2065 Hillsboro.
Hello, I'm Pickin' Rick T from CFC, best place to get you used auto parts and all types of metals to repurpose for your needs. Just take a drive down 55, see this handsome guy, stop on by. Check out our computer for hundreds of autos to locate the make and the model of the part you need. $2 fee is all you pay. Sign in and get a hand stamp, it's good for all day. Bring in your tools, get the parts you need pulled, and use a wheelbarrow to lighten the load. Pay for your parts, prices you'll be fond of. Each part's price the same, Chevy or Honda. Get exchange warranty for 30 days too. Swap out the parts you don't need for the parts that you do. Happy pick.
The Jiffy Burger on the Hillsboro Boulevard in Manchester has been voted as having the best hamburgers in Manchester. Hometown atmosphere, historical memorabilia, and of course those great burgers, salads, chicken, and so much more. It's the Jiffy Burger on the Hillsboro Boulevard in Manchester. Call in orders at 728-4452. You can also order at the convenient outdoor curb service. Hamburgers are made the old-fashioned way at the Jiffy Burger, Manchester's finest hamburgers. Open 7:30 until 9, Monday through Saturday.
All right, we're back with Let's Talk Antiques, and let me get Ray back on the phone. Are you back there, Ray?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, good. Right. We're back.
So
Okay.
tell us a little bit about your show at Bonnaroo a couple of years ago.
Well, that's probably one of the most exciting shows we did. I remember we were on stage doing our reunion show on 9/11, 2010. I believe that's when it was, and I know it was 9/11. I believe it was 2010. And then as we're finishing up that show, and I remember hearing someone, and it was probably David, and I don't know who else, behind me say, they're still good. We got to get them to Bonnaroo. And I thought to myself, in your dreams, never. And then about, I guess it was in April, the following year, in 2011, I'm actually driving to Nashville for a doctor's appointment like I am this morning, and the phone rings. It said New York, and I thought, well, okay, it's a telemarketer, but we went ahead and answered it, and it was, gentleman introduced himself, and he said, we're at Bonnaroo, and I need to check and see if you need any special equipment on the stage. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, they told you y'all are playing Bonnaroo. And I said, what? He said, yeah, y'all are playing Bonnaroo. You're going on Friday, June the 13th at 12 midnight. And I thought, wow, Friday the 13th at midnight. How witchy does that get,
Yeah.
And of course, I was extremely excited. Got off the phone and called all the guys and told them, and everybody was excited about that. And I really know that if it hadn't been for David and probably John there too, we probably would have never had the opportunity to play Bonnaroo. But that was a great experience. Had a lot of fun doing it, and of course, also that particular year. I'm trying to remember, Chris Christopherson and them were there, and they had a song out that I really liked. My mind, I'm starting to feel a little aged now. My mind just went blank. Buffalo Springfield was the name of their group. That's how they all got started. So they were there that night, and they had a reunion, and that was the first time that they had played in something like 25 years. So it was a great time and a lot of fun.
Did y'all get to hang out backstage and meet some people, or were you just in and out of your after your show?
Oh, no. We hung out all weekend. Matter of fact, we had a VIP pass, which got us special seating in any venue we wanted to go in. And then that also got us backstage. It's kind of neat to have champagne and chicken wings, at midnight. That's kind of a special thing on Saturday night out there. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. I don't remember getting back to the car, but evidently I did. I don't know if I had too many chicken wings or too much champagne. I don't know which it was.
Well, Ray, if you would have had David as your promoter, and he was the one promoting to get you at Bonnaroo, no telling where you would have ended up, because once he gets on a mission, he doesn't stop.
He definitely does that. He definitely knows what he wants and how to get it. That's wonderful.
He'll keep asking enough questions till he finally gets a yes. One thing I wanted to let you know, the record right now on eBay and out there for sale, it'll range anywhere from $75 to $175. Depends on whether they had one record for the radio stations and then one for public distribution. So the rarest one, if you can find it, is the record on Dolly Label. Right.
Dolly Label was a privately owned label by Cedarwood Publishing.
Yeah, the Dolly promo is going for $125. I see here.
That's the promo record
that
they sent out to all of the radio stations.
Yeah,
and you know what? Let's give some credit where it's really due here. When I was down in Cedarwood one day, the record had been cut, everything was ready to go, but it hadn't been released. And I was telling them, and I'm trying to remember the name of the gentleman now, I think his last name was Gilmore, that was a DJ there. And he was telling me how many requests that they had per hour, which was phenomenal. I don't remember the number, but it was something like somewhere between 50 and 75 per hour requests to play that thing.
Wow. And
of course they couldn't do that. They tried to play it twice an hour is all that they would play it, which was fine with us. That was wonderful. John Denny was Cedarwood Publishing. I was sitting there beside him, and he picked up the phone, and he wanted to know the phone number of the station, and I told him. And he said, "Who's the DJ?" And I told him, and I said, "He's on the air right now." So he waited, and he called him, and they put him on hold, and then I don't remember if it's John Gilmore or Jim Gilmore, but anyway, he came on, and he asked him, he said, how's that song doing? And he said, "It's doing great." He says, "Is anybody wanting to hear it?" And he told him the same story that he had told me, that, he had somewhere between 50 and 75 people an hour calling and requested it. John got off the phone, picked up another line again, called New York, and called directly to Lori Records, got a guy on the phone there that he knew, and he said, "Look, these kids are getting, 50 and 75 requests per hour in the radio stations, and I just got off the phone with the DJ, and I got it directly from the DJ, not from the band." And so they talked a little bit and hung up, and I was actually down to Nashville to catch a flight out to Fort Worth, Texas, and got on the plane, flew out there. By the time I landed, I kind of called from Cliff, and he said that they had just called him, and in 2 weeks they were going to release the call nationally, the record nationally. And with that phone call to WMSR, that may not have ever happened.
Wow.
That's do you remember how much the royalties were back then?
1 cent per sale per copy and 0 for plays.
Okay.
That's right.
1 cent per sale per copy.
And do you have a closet full of those singles that you're slowly selling off on eBay?
I don't. Matter of fact, I've only got 2 copies, and one of them's cracked.
Oh man.
So, you know, and David gave me the other one. I didn't even have a good copy. I mean, you know, we never thought that this thing would last this long. You know, we don't have any of the shirts. We did have an old business card that we used to make our new ones. When we did our reunion, we still had our little man logo that had been designed for us. Yeah, we just never thought that anything would happen like that. I never thought anybody would come up after a performance and ask me for my drumsticks, or that I'd look up at Bonnaroo and see David taking my playlist off the top of my bass drum so he could have it.
Yeah, you got to put a security guard on him.
Yeah.
Keep him off stage.
Do you remember who came up with that logo?
Yeah, we had a gentleman that was a graphic artist that worked out A-Row, that worked with Cliff and Doug. I don't recall his name, but it was a local gentleman, and it was a little man. And I remember we kind of spelled it out like somebody, when they whisper, they say, "Look over there," you know. We went, and he was pointing, and then that's where we had the Uncalled For. He was pointing at our neck.
I'll tell you, there's a lot of talent here locally. Lots of talent.
There is, and there always has been. And, you know, back then, there was a group in Manchester when I was in junior high. They were in high school, so they were, 4 or 5 years ahead of me. I don't recall the name of the group, but I remember to me, they were probably one of the best, but they played a lot of soul music. And if David or John remembers any of them, John, we were probably in junior high, maybe freshman.
Yeah, I know the group.
Time that they were at their peak.
I know the group you're talking about. They kind of they stayed together for a while, and then they started separating, and then there'd be one pop up on a band, then another, a local band, then another one every now and then. But yeah, I know the ones you're talking about. I can't remember their name either, or their, but I did hear them play several times.
Hey, fellas, I'm going to have to take a break in again for another break. We'll be back in just a minute or two.
Hello, I'm Pickin' Rick T from CFC, best place to get you used auto parts and all types of metals to repurpose for your needs. Just take a drive down 55, see this handsome guy, stop on by. Check out our computer for hundreds of autos to locate the make and the model of the part you need. $2 fee is all you pay. Sign in and get a hand stamp, it's good for all day. Bring in your tools, get the parts you need pulled, and use a wheelbarrow to lighten the load. Pay for your parts, prices you'll be fond of. Each part's price the same, Chevy or Honda. Get exchange warranty for 30 days too. Swap out the parts you don't need for the parts that you do. Happy pick.
The Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester has been voted as having the best hamburgers in Manchester. Hometown atmosphere, historical memorabilia, and of course those great burgers, salads, chicken, and so much more. It's the Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester. Call in orders at 728-4452. You can also order at the convenient outdoor curb service. Hamburgers are made the old-fashioned way at the Jiffy Burger, Manchester's finest hamburgers. Open 7:30 until 9, Monday through Saturday.
All right, we're back. Are you still there, aren't you, Ray?
Yeah, I'm still here. Matter of fact, listening to your commercial there about historic downtown Manchester, there used to be a little store there on the square, and I think it was kind of like a Fred's or kind of like a Dollar General was today. And they carried some what we call neat stuff back then. And one day we went in there, and we wanted some new clothes, and they were one of the few that carried the old hip hookers and bell bottoms. We go in there, and I remember Doug bought a pair of black and white striped, what looked like prison pants. Larry bought a pair of paisley, purple and gray silver paisleys. And I picked up a pair of black and white hounds, too. But that was a neat place to buy. We bought a lot of our pants that we wore on stage there at that place.
Hey Ray, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but David's got a copy from me, and they, back then they made posters, but the posters, they put them on basically an oversized paper or even newspaper and hung outside the events. But I've got one. I think was called the Cellar in Shelbyville, and David does have a copy of that. And if you want to get one, you can get one from him or me, either one. But yeah, my mother, everybody's wondering why there weren't more records locally around, and we didn't really have a record shop around in Manchester as such, and they didn't give you guys a bunch of records to pass out, and that I can remember. Is that correct?
Yeah, they didn't give us any to pass out. All we passed out, we had to buy.
Yeah.
We could buy them for 70 cents a piece. They sold for $1.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had to buy them even when we passed them out and gave them away at the shows or dances and stuff. Yeah, we actually we had to pay for those. That was kind of, but we did get to buy them at 30% off, so that's not too bad.
Well,
but that's one of the reasons that there was only three. Well, back then, the way they got your ratings, there was two ways. One was by radio request, and the second was record sales in that particular market. And the market was divided up around the country. And like there was a place in Tullahoma called the Music Shop, and they also had a music shop in McMinnville and in Murfreesboro. Well, they covered our region supposedly, and they would report back to Nashville each week about the number of sales. And so we would be spotty around the country as being number one, because back then there really wasn't anybody that had number one, and the closest thing to doing that was Billboard. And if you looked at Billboard magazine for December, matter of fact, the third week of December, we were listed as the number one requested song on the radio from Providence, Rhode Island to Bakersfield, California. And I've got copies of that Billboard.
There you go.
Clipping. So that was kind of our awakening, but the band was going to go somewhere. As I was laying in bed one night, we always went to sleep listening to WLS out of Chicago.
Yeah.
A guy by the name of Dick Biani was the DJ. It was all from 9 till midnight or 9 till 1. And I'm almost asleep. And all of a sudden he comes on and he says, "There's a new band out of Nashville. Sounds like they may go someplace." And they played "Do Like Me." Man, I shot up in that band like somebody had jumped in there with me or something. That was probably the greatest thrill to hear our record played on WLS.
Wow.
To me, that was making. Yeah.
Now, I just searched on the internet and found a record called the Psychedelic 60s Volume 5 that has the Uncalled For playing Masters of War. Is that, do you know anything about that?
I think that's a different Uncalled For.
Oh,
I think
okay.
That was a group out of Philadelphia.
Well, it referenced Manchester, Tennessee, so it's cross-referenced wrong.
They
Yeah,
got 'em wrong. That's like a trio.
somebody did their research wrong.
Yeah, somebody did a little bit of wrong. Now we did record a song called let me think. Maybe it was called that.
Well, it says the Uncalled For are hailed from Manchester, Tullahoma area in Tennessee, and had a release on Laurie Records, and and then this was compiled on Pebbles Volume 8, another one.
What was the name of the song again?
Masters of War.
Okay, I remember we recorded one called Man of War.
Okay, and there's since you've been gone
they
off to it.
the name, but it was a drum beat to marching, and it was talking about guys going off for war. Basically, it was written. That was one that I wrote or helped write, and it was about going to Vietnam. And this was shortly before Larry and I were drafted.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sound like you got some royalties coming.
You'll have to Google this and find out about it later. Then the other bands on it shows are the Maltese Four, the Mods, the London Knights, the Rogues, and the Cascades.
Hey, Ray. Ray,
sir.
this is John. One thing you can do now is if you can get on Sonos, you can put in your genre of play, and if you type in Uncalled For, you'll hear that record about 2 or 3 times in a eight hour period. But you'll hear all the one hit songs and everything. It's very interesting to do that.
We got 3 minutes, so we need to wind it up so we can play the song.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey Ray, we're gonna wind it up so we can play the song. We only got 3 minutes left.
I hope we can play the song.
Well, we can play part of it.
Play
Can
some of
you do it?
I think so.
All right, we're gonna try it, Ray. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah. Thanks for seeing us.
Okay,
Talk to us.
thanks for having me on, and you guys have a great day.
You
All right,
too.
you too.
I'm going to try this, folks. See what happens here.
If you ever have a day when the man's got you down and everyone you know is playing you for a clown and your head is still spinning from the binge the night before, your loving mom and dad just kicked you out the door. Come on over, I'm gonna show it to you. Everything I know, girl, everything to do. I'm gonna set you an example, show you how to be. If you wanna do right, girl, just do like me. Yeah. When the man at school is cutting out your kicks, and all of your friends are acting like a bunch of hicks, and you got your troubles, and you're always late, and your bug's so bad you can't concentrate. Come on over, I'm gonna show it to you. Everything I know, girl, everything to do. I'm gonna set you an example, show you how to be. If you wanna do right, girl, just do like me. Yeah.
All right, we've been listening to the Uncalled For, and that was Do Like Me. Been talking to Ray Cobb here on the program this morning. Well, I didn't want you guys to jump in there because you won't get off the air. But we're out of time for Let's Talk Antiques here, and we'll be back next week. I guess we're saying goodbye.
Hey, wait a minute. Before you say goodbye, tell them about your photo session you're going to have next week.
Yeah.
I am?
there you
After
go.
the show, yeah.
Oh.
We're going to actually do a billboard.
A billboard?
Let's Talk Antiques. Well, a mini billboard. It'll be a 4 foot by 8 foot
Oh,
billboard.
okay.
What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Do I get royalties?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
On
we're gone,
everyone
folks.
made.
See you next week.